Most small business owners have a complicated relationship with budgets. Some swear by them, some say they're a waste of time, and others are a little scared. And a lot of people say they know their numbers, so, I don't really need one. If the word budget makes you think of restrictions and stress or spreadsheets you don't want to deal with, this episode will be for you. Today, we're going to talk about when your business actually needs a budget, when you might not, and what problems tend to show up when you skip budgeting for too long. All that without turning this into a boring finance class. I promise. Hey, I'm Matt. I've spent over 25 years building companies as a serial entrepreneur and helping small business owners navigate challenges and avoid costly mistakes. Welcome to the channel. I answer your questions and concerns using real-world, practical experience. Let me know how I can help. Before we get into whether you need a budget, we have to lock down what a budget even is. A budget is not a set of restrictions. It's not something telling you what you can't do with your own money. A budget is simply a plan for where your money is allowed to go, so you make good financial decisions when the pressure is on. And here's the important part. Money will get spent whether you have a budget or not. Without a budget, you're still planning and figuring it all out. You're just doing it in your head under pressure, and usually after all the money is already gone. A budget's real job is to help you answer a question. If revenue stays the same, what can I safely afford to do? All right, let me say something that might surprise you and may get me into trouble with the finance police. You do not always need a formal budget, at least not right away. There are a few situations where budgeting isn't the most important tool yet. For example, if you're in the very early stages of a business, testing an idea, validating demand, keeping expenses extremely low, your focus should be on tracking money, not planning it. If you're running a single client or short-term project-based business where income and expenses are very clear and time limited, a full budget may not add much value. Or if you're a owner-only business with very low complexity, no debt, no employees, a strong cash cushion, informal planning can work for now. But, and this next part matters, not needing a budget today does not mean your business will never need one. It just means you haven't reached the point where guessing becomes dangerous, or a point where the revenue is high enough that misspending could be an issue. It also doesn't mean that budgeting is a bad idea. It just means it's not yet required to survive and grow those types of businesses. This is a very clear line where budgeting stops being optional, and most businesses cross it sooner than they expect. You'll need a budget when you hire employees or contractors, you take on recurring monthly expenses, you rely on the business to pay your personal bills, you want to grow without chaos, or if one bad month would cause real stress and a lot of problems. The moment other people depend on your cash flow, guessing is no longer acceptable. And I've seen this play out in service businesses especially. Revenue starts climbing. The owner's starting to feel momentum, so they hire quickly. They upgrade equipment. You're moving into a bigger space. And none of those decisions are crazy on their own, but they were made off confidence, not a plan. So then when a slow quarter hits, all of a sudden payroll feels heavy and you start second guessing everything. And at that point, a budget isn't about control. It's about responsibility. It's also about protection. A budget protects your business from emotional decision making, from hiring too fast, spending too big, or pulling back out of fear. It gives you something solid to lean on when the pressure rises. And this is where budgets stop being solely about money and start being about a good night's sleep, because uncertainty is what actually creates stress, not the numbers themselves. Let's talk about 5 headaches that show up when there's no budget in place. None of these are dramatic failures, but they add unnecessary friction every single month. First off, cash flow surprises. Money's in the bank and it feels good, doesn't it? until that big bill hits that you didn't plan for. I mean, maybe it's quarterly taxes or an insurance renewal. Maybe it's replacing equipment that's been limping along for months, but finally needs replacement. The money was technically there, it just wasn't actually available. Second is overspending during good months. You picked up a new client or released a new product and the revenue spikes. Your confidence all-time high, and you decide to splurge a little because in the moment it feels safe. It feels like momentum that'll never stop. But momentum without a plan can quickly create pressure later. Third is underinvesting in the wrong places. Marketing gets cut when it shouldn't. Systems, maintenance, and training gets ignored. Cutting there feels responsible in the short term, but it can quietly choke off next quarter's revenue. The fourth one is decision fatigue, and this is a biggie. Every expense becomes a debate. Every opportunity starts to feel risky. You're constantly second guessing yourself instead of trusting the plan you set in place when everything was calm. And finally, your own pay becomes a guessing game. You pay yourself whatever's left, whenever it feels safe. Feast or famine is a hard way to pay your personal bills. And that's when stress follows you home. Most of these problems don't disappear overnight, but they are avoidable when you've planned and have already answered these questions within a budget. Now, let's flip this around and look at what a good budget does for you. A good budget gives you permission to spend. Really, and without guilt because you've already planned for it when you had a level head. It gives you early warning signs before problems hit, and it gives you confidence when those opportunities show up. And it creates boundaries that protect your personal income. This is why good budgets actually feel boring. Boring is usually a sign that things are under control, and under control is a good place to be. There are also some myths about budget that just aren't true. Let me clear up a few of those misconceptions. A budget is not a crystal ball or a prediction of the future. It's not about getting everything right. And it's not something you set once and never touch again. And you definitely should not think you'll hit exact numbers. A budget is a living tool, something you adjust as the business evolves. It's just a plan made when stress is low and your head is clear. So do you need a budget? Maybe not on day one, but if you're serious about sustainability and clarity and growth and reducing stress, you're going to need one sooner than you think. And at the end of the day, this isn't about endless spreadsheets. It's about leading your business instead of reacting to it. The more predictable your money is, the more predictable your decisions become. This doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be perfect, but a solid budget will give you stress-free direction right when it's most important. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it was helpful. If so, hey, shoot me a like. And if you want, subscribe or drop me a comment or an email. That's where I look for future topics. Now take a breath. You've got this. All right, what's next?